Decrepify movement speed on allies has been reduced by 25%. Nether ward attack required to destroy has been increased by 1, and blade mail no longer reflects nether ward damage onto Pugna. So overall
Nice.
buffs to Pugna, I like.
I like the second one the most. I think that's the biggest one.
That's arguably his best skill,
Yep.
and it just doesn't seem like it sometimes, you know?
Extremely good. That extra hit makes a lot of difference. It gives you more time to react with Decrepify onto the ward. They need to commit more to killing it, which... The Decrepify slow on allies I would still consider like a gimmick, because when you Decrepify them, it's generally not with the intent of them running away. It's with the intent of just keeping them alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now that they're still slowed, I don't think it's the biggest deal. If it was down to 0, I would call this much more important, because then they could actually get away from the target, or from the enemy hitting them. And the Blade Mail is more of a situational, right? The fact that there's a Pugna in the game doesn't necessarily mean you get a Blade Mail. So that one's way more situational. The other two are always in effect, and the Nether Ward one's the bigger one. So, good stuff.
Quap blink range has been increased by a
Whoa.
ridiculous amount to 1300. Blink cooldown has changed a bit too, a little bit higher at the earlier levels. Sonic Wave
shit,
now
this
does...
is good.
I feel like you haven't read this yet. Sonic Wave now does pure damage and affects spell immune targets. But the one nerf is that the damage has been reduced all the way.
But it's still higher.
It's pure damage, so...
Let me see.
It
Okay,
evens
so...
out.
Beforehand, it would do 262.5 on level 1, with base hero magic resistance 25%.
Mm-hmm.
On level 2, it would do...
Wait, you said 2 what?
262.5.
Okay, so it's a buff in that regard.
It's better on all levels. 475 times 0.75. It would be 356 on level 2, 0.25, okay. So 356. And on level 3, it would be 450. That's easy to do. So, okay. Better on all levels. Affects spell immune, which is huge. Now yes. She's actually useful against BKB targets. The blink is so much better.
It's not like the blink was bad before either, though. And remember that Shadow Strike was buffed so much early. This is like the one patch that hasn't been buffed, but everything else was buffed. So this
apart from Scream.
Oh, true. But this hero, that doesn't really change anything, though. You know, okay. So the one hero I'm picking from this patch that's going to be picked as a result of these changes is this hero right here.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Biggest single hero change of the version, I think, so far. So the thing about this also is that I think there's a lot more merit to getting Aghanims Scepter now. And the reason is, so what Ag Scepter does is it gives it a little more damage and then drastically reduces the cooldown, right?
Yep.
So beforehand, you would almost exclusively get it for the reduced cooldown. Now, of course, the stats it gave you. Now, the fact that it does hit BKB targets means getting the Ag Scepter upgrade, while the damage part might still not look like too much, it's still about an extra 100 pure damage that you know you're going to hit because it affects spell immune. So I think this is also a buff to Aghanims Scepter, just the way the spell works, that now there's way more value to getting it, because you know that generally in the mid-late game, people will start getting BKBs against Quap, and then your Ag Scepter does jack shit. That's why you want it to have like a Hex, so you could catch them off guard, or you have an Orchid for the support or something. But now that you know your ult will damage the ones you hit, regardless of what's going on, suddenly that Scepter is getting interesting. And for me beforehand, it was actually one of the worst Aghanims purchases in the game.
Really? I kind of disagree with that.
Still don't think it's one of the better, but...
Cooldown is so nice.
But think about how you use the spell, right? The cooldown with Axe is 40 seconds. So if any team fight lasts more than 40 seconds, is extremely rare. So you have one per fight.
Mm-hmm.
Then what you would use the lower cooldown for would either be if you're skirmishing a hell of a lot, but you don't have the mana pool to do that. You can't gank a lane and go gank another lane. You need to go back to base first because you're out of mana. Unless you have another big item first, but then the perspective changes. So you would basically need to consider, should I get this Aghanims Scepter so I have lower cooldown on my ultimate, but it does almost the same damage? Or should I get this Orchid so that all my spells do more damage, I silence the target so they can't get away from me, and I kill them alone? And that, in a competitive sense, that's kind of been a no-brainer. I think Orchid is the first item pickup for Queen of Pain in 90% of the cases, and Ags in, 1.
Well, I'm not saying Ags is the first pickup for Quap regardless, but I don't think it's garbage.
Beforehand, when you went later, then you would be picking it over, a Hex, which would win you the fight, because you would lock down a target and kill them. Where the Ags would just, once again, well, when the fight breaks out, what am I going to do? I have my Sonic Wave, and then I'm out of steam. So the main part about the Aghs upgrade was the ability to push waves, that you could Sonic Wave a creep wave. You could defend your high ground very well, because you could Sonic Wave, the next wave would come in after 30 seconds, and then you would almost have it ready again. That was like the merit of it. But I don't think that's really that cool. So
Get Aghs,
maybe
guys.
now it's better. Love it. This is so cool. I love seeing some Queen back.
I cannot believe we're actually going longer on this than other patch notes.
Are we? No, we're not.
I think so.
We've done like 2 hours max. No,
Yeah, it's
we're
been
almost
2
there.
hours. How much has it been in the past?
Oh, our last one was like 3.5.
What? Okay, that's
We cut it into
disgusting.
2 parts that were like 2 hours each, didn't we? I think so.
Oh God, kill me.
We're
Riki,
getting there.
Blink. This hero's fun, by the way. Blink Strike max charges has been increased by 1 at all levels, which is huge. Blink Strike charge restore time has been increased by 5 seconds. Okay, I don't think that's that big of a deal. And the bonus damage from Blink Strike has gone up in the later stages, down in the earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a slight buff overall. The fact that he has 1 more charge is definitely the biggest of all of them, that you have 4 on level 1 in particular. For me, this is one of the most underrated heroes in general. I almost never see it picked in my pubs. I almost never see it picked in competitive.
I think it is super strong, this hero.
He is just shit tier in lane, and that's his one weakness. Beforehand, you could actually run Riki in a trial lane, and even if the enemy aggressed you, you could still have some potential because you had Blink Strike, so you could get in on the target and hit. Now you have like nothing in lane. You have permanent invisibility, and then if the enemy has 1 sentry, they're going to see you start and run in, they'll just back off, right? So
yeah, if you can secure him farm for like 10 minutes, then he just roams the rest of the game. He's extremely strong. I really like him.
Very powerful for skirmishing. He is probably one of the best heroes in the game against split pushing, because he can solo heroes left, right, and center right now. So I want to, like, together with a hero like Storm, and maybe Quap with an Orchid or something like that, this guy might be the best hero at single target pickoffs.
I mean, look at this damage. So
also with someone like
the
Lion.
highest level, 6 chart. Let's say you Blink Strike 1 target. Just from the Blink Strike bonus damage, it's 600, not including your auto attack, not including the actual backstab damage.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It has a cast point though.
Basically.
It takes time.
Right. There's a small delay, but still. I mean, it's nice.
Takes time to cast. He's
nice.
good. He is good. So,
but
I personally don't mind seeing him buffed a little bit, because I think it's what it takes to get attention to the hero. Although I think he was good enough before, but hopefully this will get him played.
Rubick, Fade Bolt mana cost is basically scales now. It's lower at the earlier stages. And Scepter, Aghanims Scepter spell steal cooldown has been reduced from 5 to 2. 5 seconds was already quite low. 2 seconds is like Invoker territory now. Actually, it's the same, right?
Yeah. He is okay. Nice. 2 things. Fate Bolt was really expensive on level 1 for what it did, so I like this change. I think it makes sense for it to not cost that much and still be expensive on level 4. This makes him a lot better as a mid laner, because the Aghs is now better, and you will generally get Rubick Aghs in most cases when it's played as a core. As a support, it's situational. You often get mobility items first, and then do you reach that 10k net worth on your Rubick, then you get Aghs, else probably not. So in the mid role, he's more interesting now. Your Fade Bolt is more spammable, and the prospects of getting Aghs are bigger. So
this Rubick's in the future again?
This could be the comeback of mid Rubick, mainly because of the second thing, but the first one certainly helps. So.
I love seeing this hero in general, but as a core, it's just so much more entertaining because you're guaranteed to get that blink. Although lately, like 4s have been getting blinks too, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But still, more farm the better on heroes like that because they're super exciting to watch. Shadow Fiend, Shadow Raise damage has been increased. Okay, so that's 75 extra damage if you hit all 3.
You know why this is like a really big change?
Is it 2 Shadow Raises to clear a creep wave now?
That's a good point. That's one I didn't think about, is what thresholds you clear waves or destroy neutral camps. But the thing I was thinking is, this ability has not been touched for years.
That's true.
For me, this has been one of the absolute staples of Dota history, has been Shadow Raise. This ability was always 75, 150, 225, 300. It was always the same cast ranges and same AoEs. Unless if am I missing something in the past 5 years that this ability has been changed,
well,
in like
from the
AoE
damage,
or cast range?
Well, I don't know about that. I can't remember, but the damage for sure. I remember first time I ever played Dota, seeing 75. I just for some reason I remember it. So
I
you're right on
think
that
this
one.
is at least the damage has been like this for an eternity.
Yeah, you're
And
probably right on the other
I
stuff too.
think neither the AoE nor the cast point or anything about it was changed either. So it's been this is strange to see for me because I've always kept this as like this is a thing that never gets changed, the Shadow Race. Now it's happening. And I'm glad that it's a buff. I think Shadow Fiend is one of the coolest heroes to watch. It's extremely skill based. Love seeing people play the Shadow Race combo. And like you said, this is not only about killing, it's a lot about farming too. More effective farming everywhere on the map apart from Ancients, except the Dragon Camp, if you will. But this helps a lot. This will get him more play. It doesn't look like the biggest change in numbers, but I think it's pretty important when you add together all the things it will do for you in the game.
Plus,
So,
he has an
pretty cool.
Arcana, so.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the I see where this is going. Rebalancing heroes to sell some Arcanas. That's why they nerfed PA. Good choice.
Pretty sure that's the case. Silencer, Glaives of Wisdom, intelligence into damage bonus has been increased, just slightly. Last word cooldown has been reduced.
Yep.
At the earlier stages. And Scepter Global Silence no longer increases duration by 1 second. Not that we see this hero that often, but I did feel like once you got like Refresher, Ags on Silencer, it's like that's god tier.
Yeah.
Skills.
I love this. I love that got nerfed in that way. I think this is really nice. That was too good. I'm agreeing with all these changes on Silencer. I think it's nice because now it's not. It also puts emphasis on Silencer as a hero, like what his kit is, instead of just being like, oh, you are 2 global silencers for our team. Glaives of Wisdom get a little better in the core position. You make Last Word scale better on the earlier levels, so he's stronger in that sense. And then you take away that kind of late game, I don't want to call it a gimmick, because it's something you do a lot, but it's like just one particular build that was just stupid.
Yeah.
You could say it's the same treatment that Tinker got, just that his treatment was way more extreme. Was the nerf to that particular build while still keeping the hero the same. They nerfed Dagger and E-Blade. So, I like that they did it this way. That's nice.
Alright, Skywrath Mage, base agility reduced by 5. I don't know why.
Wait, what's his base armor? It's more than 1, right? Or it's more than 0?
I wouldn't know. I don't play.
I think he has 2 base
heroes,
armor.
You know.
I'm pretty sure he has... Oh no, he has 0.52 armor. So I think he starts with negative armor now.
Oh, good. So easier to kill. Excellent. Speaking
He's already
of armor,
extremely fragile.
Slardar, sprint duration. Well, he's very fast though. Remember, he's the fastest support in the game, if I'm not mistaken.
That is true. After
Slardar...
Enchantress.
Wait, what?
After Enchantress.
Oh, that's damn it. By is Skywrath 330?
325.
325. So 10 difference. Wow, that's okay. Slardar sprint duration reduced from 20 to 16, but at the same time the cooldown has been reduced from 28 to 23. And more importantly, amplified damage cooldown reduced by 5 seconds. That's pretty big. That's nice. This hero never gets played. I still think he's extremely strong.
Yeah.
He's just
the
butt
kind
ugly.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why he doesn't get played, but
Arcana.
he's the kind of hero that I think you need to build a lineup around. That's perhaps the problem and why he gets picked so rarely, is that the lineup really needs to be able to use amplify damage very well for it to be a high value pick. So it's great for taking Roche. So if you have a lineup that can secure Roche by having great team fights so the enemy team can't engage you that easily, that's nice. If you have any sort of physical carry that can use the amplify damage to its maximum effect, that's extremely powerful. And now that the cooldown is 5, you can reliably get it on 2, maybe 3 targets in a team fight, and then suddenly that carry starts hitting like a truck on multiple targets. So I like that. And I'm going to make a prediction on sprint now. I think we're going to reach a point when the cooldown and the duration will be the same.
So at some point, at all times?
At some point. No, not so that it's a toggleable, but that you turn it on, you make the decision, now I'm sprinting. You can't turn it off again, but you can use it whenever you want. You can start it whenever you want.
Right.
It seems like we're going in that direction. I know the duration was reduced and the cooldown was reduced here and there's only a second between them, but it just seems from how this has been developing over quite a long time, we will probably reach that point somewhere down the road, unless if you buff something else a lot more.
I like him.
I think that'll be cool. It's one of my favorite heroes. I really love this guy, but
I always forget about him because
doesn't
he
get played
doesn't
so
have any
much.
cosmetics. Slark, pounce
So
damage.
true though.
Pounce damage reduced just a bit at all
Oh,
levels.
look, he got the Ogre Magi treatment. Those
What?
values are actually identical. Interesting.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
fair
they
enough.
they were
Might be a bit
identical
too strong. Right now.
before.
Yeah, and now they're nerfed to an identical amount again.
Okay, gotcha. Alright, this
Interesting.
one I don't know about. Sniper. Shrapnel no longer does damage to buildings, but at the same time it now has 3 charges with a 40-second replenish time. They don't stack though. The
Mm-hmm.
shrapnel mana cost reduced from 120 to 50, and shrapnel duration increased from 9 to 10. I didn't like this skill much to begin with. I don't know if I like it. I think I
You
like it
don't like
less
it
now.
now? It's fucking insane now.
So tell me the idea behind it.
All right. So I think the reasoning here is they're removing it from buildings because they give it 3 charges. Because else that would just be insane, right? You could use it 3 times in a row on a tower.
Right.
Not on top of each other, but right after one ends, you'll just use it again. Which I don't know. What's the cooldown and duration on this and at the current stage? Let me just look that up real quick. I have them here. Sniper and shrapnel. So currently the duration is 9, and the cooldown is 15. Right. So there's a downtime of 6. So if you could cast this 3 times in a row on a tower, that would be like a 29-second siege.
Well, I understand that, but tell me how.
So that's fine. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you do team fights with this hero, you cast a shrapnel somewhere, and it's pretty easy to escape it because the slow amount isn't that big, and it's very visible, and it's very easy to figure out how you escape from it. It's a 30% slow on level 4, which is a kind of low slow compared to a lot of other abilities. So fairly easy to escape. Every blink hero will just get out of it. 4 staffs will get you out of it. Now, the moment you get out of the first one, he just casts another one, right? So he can like keep you tap dancing between those shrapnel, and it's very difficult to get away from. So from a team fight perspective, a huge buff, like absolutely no doubt about it. The fact that the mana cost is low now also makes it worth the pickup early on, because you can actually, beforehand using shrapnel was like a big investment. You could use it twice and then you were out of mana for your ultimate. Now you can use it to set up the gank by casting shrapnel twice or maybe 3 times, and then you can ulti. You will still have mana for that. It's
Shrapnel
150 to
gives
cast it 3
vision,
times.
right?
It gives vision, and the cast range of it is 1800.
Right. So it sets up your ulti pretty nicely.
Yeah, this is.
I still don't
I
know
don't
if I
know.
like it. I mean, I'm not saying this is a nerf.
This is a huge buff. I'm worried about saying this too many times during the analysis,
Right.
but this for me is one of the biggest buffs to a single hero, and so
Really?
we're really disagreeing on that.
No, I'm not saying it's not okay.
This
I'm
is
not disagreeing
really,
with it.
really
I'm
bad.
just saying I don't know if I like it. Like playing sniper is
Oh,
like.
that's another thing.
Ugh.
Sure. Okay.
Like it doesn't seem like a cool, intuitive thing at all.
Yeah. I'm also not sure how much I like it. I'm with you on that. I don't know how nice of a change this is, but it's sure as hell going to make Sniper a lot more viable.
All right, Spirit Breaker, empowering haste cooldown from 20 to 16. Okay.
Ooh,
Storm Spirit turn rate
still
improved.
trash to your.
Yeah, he'll get some more love soon. We'll see. That ultimate won't be the worst ultimate in the game. Turn rate improved from 0.6 to 0.8 for Storm Spirit, so Blitz will be happy about that. Sven, Warcry duration increased from 7 to 8 seconds, and the Aghanims Scepter God Strength ally bonus damage has been increased by 20%.
Still extremely situational pickup, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I still can't tell if this is a pickup that a carry gets or
I still
like
consider
a
support
4.
Sven only. Yeah.
That's what
It's a support
that's what
Sven
I was
item
thinking
only.
originally. It's just like when are you gonna find farm for that hero if he's a 4 or a 5?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I've never actually seen it used though, so I can't really knock it to be honest.
Well, we'll see.
If the
I've played
Aghanims
against
maybe,
it once.
because if you think
And
about it, the
excellent.
Aghanims doesn't help him at all, right? It should. It should help him somehow.
I can't remember if he gets the bonus part as well on top of his own, or if it
I don't
just
think
shares
so.
this.
If
I
he
don't
does,
think
then
he
it's
does
actually pretty good then, but I don't think he does.
I don't think he does either. So, yeah.
Like, is there another Aghanims Scepter upgrade in the game that doesn't actually benefit the hero himself?
I can't think of one.
There might be, but either way, it's.
Oh, well, Phoenix, indirectly. Actually, directly. Phoenix is the same.
Does the
you can take another hero into the egg.
Is
it doesn't
double?
Get stronger.
Oh wait, it's not 2 eggs. That's right. Okay, that's a good point.
But that's a really new one too. It seems like a new trend.
Yeah. Techies added to Captain's mode. I'm sure you're super happy about that. It'll be
Doesn't
next
matter.
week. Landmine damage increased by a bit, by a decent amount actually.
Buy gem, guys.
Yeah, buy gem. I still think this is gonna get picked though. Not consistently by any means. Like a last pick.
Very situationally.
It is super
Very, very
situational.
situational.
But we don't need to talk about him too much. Terrorblade
No.
reflection cast point reduced by 0.2, and the Sunder minimum HP has been basically taken to level 2 mark at 20%.
Interesting.
Any thoughts, or should we move on?
I'm wondering why this hero is getting buffed.
Well, keep in mind it's buffs to skills that aren't considered his better skills, right?
Sure,
Maybe they're setting him up to have a different
yeah, but if
ultimate.
that's what you wanted to do, then you would probably, you're buffing his less powerful. I guess maybe the logic is that in the previous versions, the other ones have been nerfed so much that you can justify a buff in another department. But I wouldn't say Terrorblade is in a position right now where he needs buffs without getting a nerf somewhere else.
Well,
either.
keep in mind, like you're talking about,
okay.
the tower out or the
That's a good
illusions
point.
to
You're
towers.
right.
That's a nerf.
Illusion to building damage got nerfed. That's a really nice point. Yeah. So he
But
has been
still,
nerfed too.
even
okay.
so, I don't think he needs anything. But anyway.
You're right. He did get nerfed. That's very true.
Tidehunter base movement speed reduced by 5. Poor Watermelon. Ravage damage reduced as well. God, I love Tidehunter. He never gets old, honestly. This hero never gets old. But
he's
I don't
still
know
too
how much...
good now, so this is fine.
He's still fine, even after these changes.
Yeah.
Tinker, heat-seeking missile damage increased. Okay.
Nice.
So that's...
one step in the right direction to bring him back. I don't know if it's enough yet. This has... The reason why this is a really good change is that this is the part that every Tinker gets in his build. I cannot remember ever seeing in a competitive game a build where you max laser and march. You either go laser rocket or you go rocket march.
Right.
So this is good in all Tinker builds. And whether this extra 25... I can't think of many situations where this is like the threshold breaker for whether you get a kill or not. So I don't think it's that big of a change, but the fact that you spam these rockets quite a lot does make this 25 damage boost quite a big deal. For harassment in particular. Decent change.
Alright. This one I have some questions about. So first we'll go over the second one, which is obvious. The grow move speed has been rescaled, so it's much better at the earlier stages, which is pretty big. I mean, basically no scenario now do you ever not get your ultimate at 6, because sometimes, I don't even think they do it anymore, but back in the day you would sometimes wait till 10, 11. But that's definitely not the case now. Okay,
No.
toss duration increased from 1 to 1.3 seconds. How does this affect the combo? So just to explain to people that don't know, when you avalanche toss, you take the avalanche twice because of the toss. You toss back onto the avalanche. Does this change anything? That's 0.3 seconds extra that you're in the air. So that's we'd have to test that. But...
So what I'm thinking is it might make it easier to land the toss avalanche combo, where you toss first.
That's not a combo though.
I can't remember this. This is really counterintuitive with how it worked in Dota 2, and I don't remember if it was the same as in Dota 1 even. Damn it. So the reason I'm thinking this is that else this seems pretty arbitrary as a change, right? If that doesn't help the avalanche toss combo. Mm-hmm. And if you're saying that the toss avalanche combo only works if you avalanche first, right?
Right. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Then this doesn't make a difference, because then the avalanche one is still the shorter one. You'll always... Else it's a nerf. No, that's not the case either. Like, hang on. This is strange.
There has to be a reason.
Yeah. Let me look this up. Sorry if that made a noise. An enemy under the effect of toss will take double damage from avalanche. Is the official text.
I've tested this so many times, and then they've changed it. See, the problem is I don't remember the changes between Han and Dota. Because...
And I also don't remember how the interaction's been, because the way I've...
And the wording has always been garbage on this skill.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody in the comments will let us know.
So what I'm saying is, with the current wording, unless I'm misunderstanding something, and the reason I'm not 100% sure about this is the way I usually use the combo, or almost exclusively, is even when I have a blink, I blink, groundcast Avalanche, and insta-toss. There's like no cast point on Avalanche, so you don't even have time to react if the enemy hero is a blink hero. But now, with the longer duration of the toss, it might be possible to execute the combo easier where you toss first and then Avalanche. Because maybe the reason it wasn't possible before was that the toss duration was so short that Avalanche didn't get to deal enough damage during the toss. Unless if you timed it perfectly with toss first. I am going to have to assume that's the reason. And if that's the case, then it's definitely a buff that you can start with toss no matter what, and then land an Avalanche afterwards that deals double damage. Else what would the reasoning be, right?
That's the only thing.
Is it to make it better when you blink on an enemy target and toss him to your team that there's a longer reaction time to set up? Or...
I was thinking about that. It's like that's so
because that
arbitrary.
could also be the reason. But that's really, really random, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to say that it's something with toss Avalanche, but I could be wrong. So.
All right. Moving on.
It's always been a strange interaction, those two between them.
Indeed. Treant Protector, Eyes in the Forest, overgrowth damage increased by 40 seconds, and Eyes in the Forest cooldown reduced from 55 to 25 seconds. This, of course...
only Ags.
Yeah, is only with Ags, so okay. How often do we see that?
Fair enough.
It's a nice
Not very often. Yeah.
It's a cool Ags upgrade, though, I have to say. I think I've seen it one time in like a competitive game. Troll Warlord, fixed fervor stack count being 1 stack too slow. Wasn't aware of that. Excellent. Tusk. Ice Shard's projectile speed increased by 200. Ice Shard's duration is up by 2 seconds. Walrus Punch is now an enemy target ability and is auto-castable, and Walrus Punch cooldown reduced. So this Walrus Punch, what does this mean? Is now an enemy target ability?
So beforehand, it was a self-cast, right? You would click Walrus Punch, you would get a buff, and then the first target you hit would take the Walrus Punch.
Okay.
Now it's like Finger of Death. You click it on a target and then you hit it. So the reason this is nice is
you get the choice.
Beforehand you would very often, because of, you would roll in and then the attack would go off really fast and you wouldn't hit the target you wanted, or it would mistakenly get used on a creep. And you could say that was just a skill issue, that you played it poorly or whatever, but the fact is, Walrus Punch, the way you landed it was sometimes, it just seemed clunky when you got it off. Now the question is, now that it's a target ability, if this changes the way it works with attack speed. I think it's still based on your current attack speed, so it's still a swing, right? So if you're slowed on attack speed, it takes you a long time to get it off. I'm going to assume that's still the case. And then the cooldown reduction is to account for the fact that now that you can't self-cast it, you can't pre-cast it either. Because beforehand, the cooldown would start going when you cast it on yourself, not when you hit the target.
Right.
Which meant that when it was level 3 before, you could self-cast it, you could run in with a Blink or a Shadow Blade or whatever, you could hit someone, and then a few seconds later, you could do a Walrus Punch again. You can't do that anymore now. So, because of that interaction, you kind of need to buff it on cooldown to give it a chance of doing that anyway. So, pretty good.
Yeah. And Ice Shards is faster and has, it lasts longer, so more potential to block people in, I guess.
Yeah, more reliable.
We never see, though. Very underplayed. Has a lot of potential, though.
Yes.
Undying, Soul Rip, max units increased. Increased at the early levels, decreased at the later levels. The damage and heal per unit has gone from a constant 25 to more scaling and goes decently high at 30. The armor of the Tombstone has been increased by 1, and Flesh Golem max slow increased from 15 to 20.
So what's the most important about this? I think the most important about this is Soul Rip level 1. It now has a max damage of 180 instead of 125. And having 10 targets in Soul Rip is actually not that difficult, because if there's 2 creep waves and a couple of heroes, you have it already. And that's a really hard nuke. 180 is
Soul Rip
sick.
at level 1 was quite underwhelming.
Yeah.
It's pretty good now. Armor
and I think the cast range got increased last patch too, right?
The what?
Or was that the cast range of Soul Rip, or was it the range from which it could gather the souls?
I don't remember.
I think it might be the latter, but...
What do you think about the Tombstone armor increase? It was already difficult to kill, and obviously it's just impossible now with 1 armor, so we'll just... Imagine that being buffed from, like, Ring of Basilius and stuff. That would be pretty dirty.
Or getting affected by Glyph.
That used to happen, right?
Yep.
That's hilarious. Um, all right, Vengeful Spirit. Wave of Terror cooldown increased by 5. Okay, still a great hero that's not played nearly as much as I feel she's needed.
She's picked a lot nowadays, though.
A lot? You say a
Yes,
lot?
she's a first phase support these days, right now. I
Oh,
think that's the reason it's getting nerfed. It's just that it started getting picked a hell of a lot
it's a
suddenly.
great hero. Visage.
I would agree. It's might have at least before very recently it wasn't picked enough.
Visage, also known as Visage, Gravekeeper's Cloak, recovery time has been decreased to a constant 6.
Really good.
That's
Big
very
buff,
nice.
actually.
Warlock, Fatal Bond's cast range increased by 100, and the radius increased by 125.
Might as well make it global at this point, I feel.
Well, that's a skill nobody levels, though. You know?
No.
We've been seeing a lot of Upheaval and Shadow Words.
Yeah, it's generally
I mean, for
either
the most
or.
part,
You
I'm
want
not
to have
saying they
Shadow
don't
Word.
skill it completely, but generally, I feel like this skill is not skilled very high.
Yeah.
You say I'm
It
incorrect?
used to be the norm was heal and then Fatal Bonds.
Right.
And then Upheaval got buffed. And people started realizing how good it was. And then since Warlock is usually played as a support, how often do you... Or sometimes it's also played as a core. But getting all the levels up so you have all of them maxed takes a long time. And generally the trade-off was that you took a few targets on Fatal Bonds and then you maxed Upheaval, or you went all in Fatal Bonds and sacrificed Upheaval. And I don't know. I don't really feel like this ability needed a buff, but it's not that significant, so it's okay.
Okay. And last but not least for the heroes, Windrunner has had a few changes. Power shot travel range increased by... That's a lot.
I'm really surprised that it went this far. I think 2,000 would have been a good amount. Not because it's cool that it is this long, but there's just so many changes to the hero that I'm a little surprised they went with this high of an amount from the get-go. You could have tried with 2K or 2.1.
You can basically scout Roshan from your fountain with that range. I mean, holy jeez.
It's pretty insane.
Also, the power shot max damage is now dealt after 1 second of channeling. So after 0.7 seconds, so it was always 1 second channeling time. But after 0.7, you got the full benefit. Like, you didn't need to wait that extra 0.3 seconds if you didn't want to. You could just cancel it. That's not the case anymore. That was always a random thing about it. And also, the cast point has been increased with power shot to 0.
So that's the balancing out of it, right? So now that power shot takes no time to initiate, then after a second you will do the full damage from a 0 cast time plus a full channel, instead of a 0.3 channel or a cast time and then a full 0.7 channel.
Right.
So the time it takes to deal a full damage power shot is the same. It's way more intuitive. You don't have to cut it off at 0.7 for no reason.
So for people that didn't cut it off, this is a buff.
Yes, and it's also a buff for everyone else because it has no cast points. Now it's a lot easier to get it off fast, right? If someone is porting out, you can get a very fast power shot off. If someone is about to use their Blink Dagger, you can power shot them with 0 cast point. And pretty much for every situation, this is just a buff in all cases. The power shot is now better.
Well, except for the reduced of the area of lingering vision, 800 to 400. Yes. And last but not least, focus fire attack speed bonus increased from 400 to 500. And
because we just love when heroes turn into machine guns. Good.
Yeah, so it was 500 to 600 where attack speed was increased in general, right?
Yeah, the cap has been raised. Yep.
So there we go. So I was right about that. Okay, so items. Animal Courier, cost reduced by 30. All right. Armlet of Mordigian. Well, if you want to talk about any of this, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to keep going.
A couple of them. So the Courier here is... Or I'm saying a couple, and I've only seen the Courier. So I'm mainly... Whenever I see something like this that is always bought in the start of the game, in competitive games at least, I'm starting to think, what will this extra 30 gold be used for? So if someone... It's either an extra branch or an extra Tango or Clarity, or... Let's see, 120, can you item build something else on a support now? You can get Courier and Boots and a piece of regen. That is... No, you can still only get Clarity. You can't get a Tango. So, okay, it's not that big of a deal. But it's nice to see the cost of these support items reduced to give supports even more impact.
All right, I don't want to get into a whole thing, but I remember Ake made a post on his blog about how perhaps this is a Han thing too. And I don't have an opinion on it. I don't really care one way or another, but he thought that Animal Courier should be given to the team automatically.
Yeah. But then
I don't
the
know how you feel about
argument
that.
is that supports are too rich, like that it's too much, because then they can all start with boots and regen,
I think generally speaking, the way the games have been
or
played,
boots wards.
yeah,
So
supports are pretty rich in general these days,
yeah,
especially compared to like 2 years
with
ago.
all the other buffs there have been, I think that would be too much. Like extra passive gold, uh, the bounty rune, better gain from kills in general, better jungling. You know, there's
Yeah.
many things that supports are okay, but I don't. A slight buff like this, I think, is fine for now. That's okay.
Armlet recipe cost has been reduced. I
Again,
want this to just go back to the old armlet. It was so much more fun. I'm not saying this item's bad. It's just so okay. It's terrible in pubs because it's not fun anymore. That's where it really matters is pubs. But that's something, I guess. Blink Dagger. When I saw Blink Dagger was getting a change, I was like, all right, this is definitely going to be a nerf. When I saw the icon, I'm like, all right, they're going to increase the cost or something, which is unfortunate. But no, Blink is no longer disabled if you take no damage. So this is insane for the refraction. Well, it's insane for a lot of things, but TA, we talked about this before. Blink Dagger isn't necessarily a staple on this hero anymore.
mm-hmm.
I think it kind of is now. I could be wrong, but refraction, it doesn't matter if you get hit, you can still blink. That's insane. That's insanely good.
He is perhaps the main hero that this is very good on. Um, the only other I have, there's a couple of other situationals. I guess the one that comes to mind for me is Omni-Knight's ultimate, because in Dota 1 you would get like infinite armor, or you would get 9,999 armor
Yeah.
or whatever, but you would still take damage. But in Dota 2, the way it's coded is that you don't take physical damage under GA. So if you're Guardian Angel, people can actually blink out when they take physical.
That is a very interesting point. Wow.
Um, apart from that, what else could be
Of course,
the
that's physical
case?
damage only, obviously. So
Yeah, what else blocks
mm,
something? Vanguard.
has a
If you
100%
block
chance to, or
all
not,
the damage with Vanguard or Crimson Guard or
Crimson
Stout
Guard.
Shield,
Yeah.
but if you block all the damage with Stout Shield, you're playing against the techies with 30 base damage, and you have high
Yeah.
armor too. So, but with Vanguard it's possible, and with Crimson Guard it's possible.
Interesting.
Is there anything else that blocks stuff? Pipe. If you're piped and take magic damage, you can blink.
Hmm.
So that's another one. And now I think we're about through. I like this interaction though. I think it's cool. We're gonna see if it's too good on some heroes, and it's probably gonna get changed. But once again, for the sake of how intuitive it is, this I guess we can agree it makes sense, right?
Yeah, and I
Blink
still
Dagger is
think that,
cancelled on damage, and if you take no damage, it shouldn't be cancelled, right?
right.
So
And I still think that the Blink Dagger change from long ago, where there's no mana cost, is one of the best changes ever to Dota.
that was really good.
All right, bottle. A courier carrying a non-full bottle will always be slowed, instead of only being slowed when it's carrying an empty bottle. So that means you can't leave one charge left. Arteezy. Bottle
The
coning
Arteezy nerf.
is now worse, which is
Yeah,
fine.
good.
Broadsword has replaced Talisman Evasion in the side shop. Okay. Is there a chainmail in the side shop or no? I don't think so.
Yes, you can
There
build
is?
a
Oh,
full. You can
full
build a
blade
full
mail
blade
then.
mail in the
Okay.
sideshow,
So
right?
that's the only difference though, right?
I was mainly thinking for Battle Fury that the build up for the Battle Fury heroes now has one of the weapons in the side.
Meh. I guess that's
But
okay.
yeah, the blade mail is not. I don't know. I think it's actually more relevant for the Battle Fury build up, because that's something more heroes get in the early laning stage in the side shop. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
the
I
fact
guess
that it
so.
replaces Talisman, I'm not really. So that has another implication actually. So it's not just that you can build blade mail inside, right?
Well, you can't build
It's
it. You can build half of it.
you can build all of it.
You can't get mana void stone there.
We're talking blade mail, not Battle Fury.
Oh, I thought you said. Oh, I thought you said Battle Fury.
Yeah,
Okay.
the entire blade mail can be built. You can't get the full Battle Fury still.
Right.
But now you can't get the butterfly in the side shop.
Mhm.
You obviously needed the eagle song from the special shop before, but now you can't, or the secret shop. Now you can't get
Special
the
shop.
special shop. I don't know where that
Today
came
we're
from.
selling Blink Dagger with mana cost. That's the special item today.
Excellent. I'm not buying it. Um, but yeah, now completing butterfly requires a visit to your base or
Sure.
a courier.
I've actually
Those are
bought
the two things.
Talisman of Evasion quite a few times in the side shop, so
And
it
the
affects me
same.
directly.
What else is there that uses Talisman? Obviously the Halberd, and but you can't build that. You can't build the Sanj in the side shop anyway. So that you couldn't have built a full Halberd there. So.
Yeah, but the value Talisman.
It's okay. Yeah.
It's okay. Whatever. It's whatever. That's the motto of today.
It's whatever.
Circlet
okay.
costs reduced from 185 to 165, and in addition, the Wraithband, Null Talisman, and Bracer cost increased by
Good.
20. Okay.
Very good. I wouldn't even mind seeing this.
Price.
I wouldn't even mind seeing the price reduced even further.
Okay.
I think Circlet cost way too much for what it did. A branch cost 50 and gives you 1 to all stats, and a Circlet cost 185 and gives 2 to all stats.
Yeah, but to get
I know it
that,
only takes up 1 slot.
Item slots, okay?
I know it only takes up 1 slot, but still, I wouldn't mind this costing 150. I think that would honestly be okay.
I always thought this was like horrible bang for the buck.
I think arguably it was the worst item for its cost in the game.
Well, now you have an actual reason to, like, if you're going to be building drums or
you could say Ulti Orb is worse, obviously.
Well, true.
But
it gets worse in value, obviously, the higher.
Yes, you know what I mean.
But if you're building a Bracer, maybe you go for the Circlet now instead of the Gauntlet of Strength.
Yes.
So you always go
exactly.
Gauntlet of Strength, right?
Yeah, so that's what I was getting at, right? At the point in time when you want to buy a Circlet, it's really poor value. It's obviously more valuable per gold than an Ulti Orb is, but at the time you're buying Ulti Orb, you're doing it because you filled your slots or because you're building for something big. And Circlet is an early game item that was way too costly for what it did. So that is very true. The build up to Bracer, Null Talisman, etc. is more interesting now.
Clarity mana restore increased by 25. Okay, very good. Very good. Nice little buff to Clarity users out there.
Actually, hang on, Shannon.
Oh boy.
Let's quickly think about Circlet, because now I just got the thought, okay, the 3+ stat items cost 150. Gauntlet, Slippers, and Mantle. So if Circlet costs the same as that, that one would give 2 to all stats at the same price as one of the ones that gives 3 to 1 stat. That would actually be way too good. You would get one, let's say you're playing an Intel hero, you would get 1 less damage from your Mantle, from not having a Mantle, but you would get 2 strength. That would be like 38 health at the trade of 1 damage and 13 mana. So, thinking twice, this is probably a good middle ground for Circlet, where if you reduced it further, it would be too good relative to the +3 stat items. But you've got a very good point in the build-up for Bracer in those, that now you probably want to go the Circlet route instead of the flat stat one.
Crimson Guard. Duration increased from 9 to 10. Alright. I like this item. It's fun.
Yeah, it's good.
Diffusal Blade is no longer a unique attack modifier, and but multiple mana break types do not stack, so don't expect this to be picked up on Anti-Mage. I like this. So, okay, tell me if I'm wrong about this. Diffusal and Scotty, how do they interact? Does it only work on range? Does it not work at all?
Scotty's not an orb on range.
Right. So
yes,
now
works on
you
range.
can get Diffusal and Scotty, guys, on melee.
And,
no problem.
Probably more importantly, you can get Diffusal with Lifesteal.
Indeed.
That's
so
the bigger change.
Who does that affect here?
Let me think. Who do you get that on? Who do you want to get Diffusal on generally? Riki can now get it with, for example, a Mask of Madness, which is actually a decent build. Spectre, very situational. Lifesteal pickup. Generally never. Who else do you get Diffusal on?
Naga, but I don't think that's...
Naga Siren, you don't get a lifesteal on here. So for the illusion-based heroes, it generally doesn't matter, because if they get a lifesteal, it's generally
Things might change a bit once we get lower down here to the Helm of Dominator. You never know. We'll get there in a sec. Drum of Endurance. They're just adding charges. I don't remember the last time they did it, but it's now 6, so that's nice.
Good change.
Yule's Scepter. Everybody's been picking it up, so as a result, the cost has been increased by 150. Thanks, guys, for ruining it for everybody. It's a great item, though. It's very utility. I mean, you can pick this up on... I know Sing Sing picks it up... I don't know, is it Sing Sing or is it Merlini? Merlini, I think, picks it up on, like, heroes that don't... Like, agility heroes that are carries sometimes. Like, it's just a really good item, I think.
Yeah.
Healing Salve cost reduced by 5. Okay. Alright, Helm of the Dominator. I forgot they even changed this, to be honest, that it increased health way back when. But now I increased it to 500. Increases it from Yeah, I'm tired. It's 4:30 in the morning. The health gets increased by 500. How can I not say this? Okay, thoughts.
This is mainly good for the Alpha Wolf.
Yeah,
It's
it's
easier
easy
to
to
take the
kill.
Alpha Wolf
Yeah.
with you in the fight and not have it die if you're playing a physical carry that gets a helm. Of course, it's also harder to kill whatever creep you're using to stack at the Ancients, but we generally don't see that being a problem that often. Either you catch it off guard with your heroes and kill it, or you just either find it with one hero and can't kill it, or you just leave it alone and block the camp. So I want to say mainly the Wolf this is interesting for. Could also get some sort of flexibility with the movement speed creep, the Cobalt that you love so much apparently,
I love that creep.
and maybe the small Satyr, which also got buffed in the previous version.
Just
So the
dominate
Purge got
the
better.
kobold and then have Nakes infest it. It's very
Nice.
useful, guys. It's gonna be played a
Lifestealer,
lot.
Helm of the Dominator, next item.
Yeah. All right, wand max charge is increased by 2. There has to be a reason for this.
Extremely random.
There's no way this is random.
I don't know.
I don't know what it is though. So.
It gives 15 health and mana per.
Wait, how much does it give again? How much extra is this?
15 per.
So that's
220, 225 health and mana if it's full.
Health and okay. Wraith King's ultimate is one. How much is it now?
160.
It's 160. How much does a full wand give?
225.
Oh wait.
Now it gives 255.
Why did I think that affected him? Okay, I don't know. There's no way.
Well,
it's
it does.
random,
If there is an antimator in the enemy team and he hits you once after your wand, you still have enough money.
Sure. Okay, that's exactly what Ice Rug did. For sure.
I don't know. I cannot find a very good reason for this, apart from perhaps the fact that a lot of players were keeping the stick and the wand has been...
The shtick?
The wand has been picked up a little less, but then I don't know if this was the way to go about it, or if you should have reduced the recipe cost, maybe, for it.
Yeah, I guess yeah.
I'm not sure what the reasoning is here. Maybe we're missing something obvious. Then
there's got to be something. Medallion of Courage
tell us.
recipe. This is a cool change. Not this one, but the one coming down. Recipe cost increased by 125, which is not good. But Valor can now be cast on allies to give them armor. And the passive armor and exchange armor is increased from 6 to 7. So you can give an ally 7 armor. I'm assuming it still works in the same way, where you lose 7 armor as a result. But that seems like a cool thing. I'm trying to think of where... I mean, it's probably useful in a lot of scenarios. It's just... I like it. I like it.
That is really, really good.
Okay. You guys heard it here first. It's really, really good.
There's many situations whenever you're sieging the base, whenever a team fight breaks out and your support is in a position to help the attack target, that this is good. Even with the increased cost, I think this might be too good to have this as a defensive ability. Because the thing is, when you start adding this on top of something like a mech, the armor of the target that you choose is going to be so high that this is difficult for lineups that deal physical damage to deal with.
Yeah, that's true.
If there's 1 or 2 of these on a team.
In addition to, well...
Because there's another
Crimson
thing, right?
Guard too. Crimson Guard was
it could be worth picking up more than 1 now on your team.
Wait, does it stack?
I guess not, but you can cast it on 2 targets then. Then you can cast 1 aggressive and 1 defensive one. Like, if the item is good enough, both of your supports could get 1.
Yeah.
Beforehand, you would generally
have gone up quite a bit. I mean, Medallion got buffed in that regard. Crimson Guard got buffed, and we'll be talking about Pipe in a second, which also got buffed.
And before, you generally only got 1 because you were like, okay, we're going to have a focus enemy target that we're going to cast Medallion on, we're going to kill it, and we need it for Roche, which is still the same thing. But now that you can have 1 aggressive and 1 cast on an ally, there's some interesting perspectives in that, I think, getting to.
Agree. Pipe, as I talked about, has been buffed a bit. Cost reduced by 100, and the barrier lasts for 12 seconds instead of 10. Okay.
Very nice.
Refresher Orb, which I was expecting a huge nerf, only got a 10-second increase in cooldown, so that's a little bit surprising. I mean, it's a nice nerf. I think it's too good. I think we've talked about this. I don't think it should work on BKBs. That's the main problem.
I actually like that it does that, because then it refreshes everything. That's like the idea of it. And you could say, you could just add BKB as an exception.
It doesn't refresh everything, though.
What do you mean?
There's some exceptions,
Which
aren't
one?
there?
I think you're thinking of Tinker's rearm, right? Where
Well,
that doesn't
Tinker. Well,
rearm BKB or it doesn't. What else is it? Necrobook and a couple of other things. It doesn't rearm Refresher, I
Manta.
think, either.
Well,
I
like
think it
Manta.
does rearm.
Well, it refreshes Manta, but it doesn't.
Yeah, but they don't.
You can't have
I think
more than 2.
unless I'm missing something here, Refresher Orb refreshes everything you have, apart from other Refresher Orbs. So that's the exception, if you will.
I guess that's.
So else you could just cycle them and cast your spells all the time. But you could add BKB as an exception, but then I would rather still have it as a cool pickup if you have a BKB hero, but just nerf it in some other way. Like this cooldown increase is a way to start. I'm just wondering if the item is too cheap for what it does, for example. Because you generally see, I guess the number 1 hero right now with Refresher is Tide, and you often see him getting it fairly early in the game, and that's at that point in time, it's just so massively impactful to have this item 35 minutes in, or 30 minutes in. Where either you make it more expensive, or you make the build-up worse, so the items it consists of are less useful, or, I don't know, either you could, like they did, increase the cooldown. Those are the only 2 options, right? Unless you want to start disallowing it from refreshing particular things. There's no, like, other choice. You could increase the mana cost, but that's already astronomical, so I wouldn't do that either. I think that was actually the original way Refresher Orb was balanced, was that it was so expensive to cast that you couldn't get it early, because you needed items to build up to it first, which you still do, but Arcane Boots are just so damn good that that is enough for the build-up almost. And way back in the day when Arcane Boots or even Arcane Ring didn't exist, Refresher Orb was, I think, almost never picked up.
Arcane Ring. How I.
Because you needed you needed some pretty big items first. But now that that's happened, it's actually possible in some games.
Was that what it was called? Arcane Ring?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the old one.
That was.
We'll see.
How god-awful does that look in comparison to Arcane Boots?
I mean, I guess we can agree the thing about this Refresher Up change is that it changes nothing, apart from it makes the item worse, but everyone who used to get it will still get it for the same reasons and for the same cost. So if that's the solution, if they think Refresher Orb is still... concept of the item is good, and that what it does is fine, then I don't think a cooldown increase is... Well, it's the only thing they can really do. But
I have an interesting idea. This might be going too far. The reason I don't like Refresher... I mean, I agree with the cost stuff, but more so just the general idea of it is having an 8-slotted hero or 7-slotted hero where you put it on the courier, put it on your hero, refresh, then take it out of your inventory and leave it on the courier. You can get actual 6 slots, right? What if you're forced to keep the refresher in your inventory at all time? What if you can't move it? Similar to like if somebody gets like a specific hero gets Ags, like Ogre,
so
you
like
can't drop
Aegis
it. Or
and
Aegis,
Ags on Meepo.
Right. Like you
And
can't get
Ogre,
rid of refresher once you buy it. You have to use it as an inventory slot. It's a sacrifice to
I think that's a
allow
start,
these heroes.
But the way it solves, like, the issue it solves, I think, is the least...
Like, it solves the
really
issue of, like, Medusa's buying it, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't solve Tidehunter.
But that's, once again, those are the exceptional situations where heroes get 8-slotted. I mean, it does happen, but it doesn't happen that often, and I don't think those are the situations that need to be dealt with, if there are any. A thing that came to mind for me was giving Refresher Orb charges, like Drum. You can use it 3 times, and then you have to buy a new recipe, for example, or something. I mean, that could maybe be an idea, but I don't know. Well, we'll see. It's the thing about this item is there's some heroes that it's absolutely crazy on, and there's others that it's completely garbage on, and as a result of that, it's very hard to balance the concept around the item.
All right. Well, last but not
least, at least it got nerfed, right? That's good.
Barely, but yeah, sure. Shadow Amulet, cost reduced from 1600 to 1400, and your movement speed is now only unpredictable when the invisibility starts rather than when you cast it. It's such a weird item.
Wait, what? Your movement is now...
Your movement is now only interrupted when the invisibility starts rather than when you cast it. There's a fade time of, what is it, like a second?
Oh, so you can move while you cast it now.
I feel like you could have done that before. I've seen people do that.
Hang on. It's now only interrupted. Oh, so I think it's just It's just a convenience change that when you cast it, you don't need to issue a new move command, right?
Okay. Okay.
And the moment you get invisible, it stops your movement for you, which is also nice, because then you fade as quickly as possible, and it tells you now you've stopped. Unless if I'm misreading anything here, that's how it should work.
That's
So you click,
right.
you click somewhere to move there. You click Shadow Amulet on yourself. Then the moment you're invisible, your hero stops moving. And then if you want to move again, you can do it, but it stops for you when it's the right time. That's nice. But obviously the big change is the first one. This makes Shadow Blade 200 cheaper.
Oh yeah.
So
that
gonna maybe see that back a bit. Used to be an absolute top pickup, then it got 10 seconds longer cooldown, and fell off heavily with the buff to Blink Dagger as well. So now they need to try to rebuff it again so we can get some Shadow Blade action back. I think this is a nice choice.
Alt-click
Shadow Amulet is still garbage for the value, so for what it costs.
Alt-click the patch notes, by the way, in case you didn't know.
Oh, really? Can you do that?
Yeah. Pretty good.
Typical.
I'm learning about Medallion of Courage. Okay, we're going to end this because somehow I was expecting this to actually be like an hour and a half. I don't know why I keep thinking that, but it's almost 3 hours, and I'm.
So, do you want any conclusion on it? Like, what do you think?
Well, yeah,
good.
We're gonna do that
Let's
right
just
now.
make a really short conclusion. Are we fans? Are we not so much fans? And how, if we are fans, how much fans are we compared to previous patches? Like, how much do you like this?
Don't think. I don't have a problem with the current Dota patch or Dota, update. Like the 6.82 was fine. This doesn't change anything. It's not great. It's not bad. I mean, some things that were changed I like were Pudge Hook because of my amazing skill build. But more importantly, Lifestealer and Fest I think is going to be really cool. And I'm hoping that it's not just like some stupid gimmick that nobody actually uses. If it turns him somehow into like a jungling hero, that would be awesome. I think more jungling heroes are needed. I'm just sick of seeing the same heroes over and over. But I don't know. It's okay. It doesn't blow me out of the water, personally. How about you?
Yeah, I guess I agree. I like the patch overall. I think it's perhaps less super exciting than the last two we had, but I think we were also spoiled in those with everything we got.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I'm a fan as well, but not, like you said, not as blown away or blown out of the water as with previous patches. Just seems like a really solid, balanced patch overall before we get into the new year, so that's good.
All right, so with that, this concludes our 3 hour. If any of you have actually watched the entire 3 hours, thank you so much. You can tweet syndereN at syndereN Dota, myself at SUNSfan TV, and just tell us.
I survived.
What were you doing? Like, what were you thinking listening to us for 3 hours? Like, ugh, God, killing me. All right, well, I'm going to go jump in bed because it's getting close to 5 in the morning for me. But syndereN, you can start your day. Congratulations, syndereN.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to a great day.
Oh, excellent.
Good night, Shannon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.